The last time we were here, you sat here on the sofa with us, on the hot sofa. So it was myself and Nana. And we discussed a 13-year-old child, African, just imagine, who had taken his parents to court. So what happened, just to give you a background story,
Tell me.
the parents had removed him, let's use that, removed him from the UK. Come on, hop on, we're going to see Nan and cousins back home in Africa. At the time, we didn't know which of the country. So getting there, he discovered they placed him in a private school, a boarding
Wow.
school. And a boarding school in Africa, trust me, it's for the elites. So he said, no joke,
Really?
probably even better than the ones in the UK.
Wow.
So they left him there, and then he found his way to sue. I don't know how he got there to sue the parents in the UK, saying they left him in Africa. They used deception they tricked him effectively to Africa.
Wow.
So what we were discussing was it was coming off the backdrop of the young child who was on the bus in Woolwich.
Okay.
And how that child's mother cried out for help and said no one did help her.
Okay.
But these parents now were crying out for help, and no one was helping them, but they took decisions by themselves and said, we'll go grab the bull by the horns and do our stuff. We're going to protect our own child. So they used trickery and moved into Africa.
Can you just, what was he into? What was the backdrop of the story?
Okay, so the mom and dad said he was getting involved in gangs. His schoolwork was dipping down and was becoming aggressive. His behavior had changed, so they feared for his life. They actually did say he was involved in criminal activities, which I believe at the time was very honest of the parents to have said that and said, look, our son is involved in criminal activities. We're seeing these changes and we're worried. If we don't step in, because the state won't step in, he's going to die. We don't want that. So that's why they took him back to Africa. At the time, I assumed it was Nigeria, because that's the MO of most Nigerian parents and Caribbean parents. I believe you would agree with that. But I think a week or two later, now the judgment has been made by a judge called Hayden, and we now have more details. We now know which country he was taken
Where's he from?
Ghana. Obviously,
wow.
They would have links with Ghana because he was taken back to Ghana. So the judges ruled in favor of the parents, saying, yes, they might have used trickery, deception, and all of that, but it was good intention because look at what's happening in the country. You were involved in activities that are criminal, and it could have proven detrimental to you wherever you get. Because they also give statistics of the number of young boys who's been in London for the year period. So while anyone could be stabbed anywhere in the world, but the judge was saying, I think you have a chance at life in Ghana, and your family, their extended family, is showing you love. So the parents are very happy with that judgment, saying their life was stressed. And I could only imagine. So what do you think? Imagine if you were that parent.
Well,
would you go to that length to want to protect your child?
It's difficult for me to give a closed or open response to that, which is a yes or no. And the reason why I say I would find it a challenge to give a clean cut yes or no is because I do think the dynamics of, is the mother a single parent? Is she, does she have support? Does he have a father in the picture? I think these small dynamics may stir my judgment a little bit or my decision. Also, there's been a list, countless young children that's been sent back home, African, Caribbean, Indian, Asian, whatever. It hasn't necessarily it hasn't made those children into rock star students overnight. It just means they have to resettle till they find again a similar caliber of people in that country to get up to their antics with. That's what I've come across. There's been many people that's been shipped across.
No, that's true.
For some, it's actually worked for more.
Yes.
Because they know it's a disciplinary, and sometimes the person taking you in is harder on you because if it's not boarding school, the auntie, the uncle, or the granddad or whatever. But however, you will find that it hasn't stopped them from being who they are. But they definitely have had some rigid margins once they've gone back home.
I hear what you're saying, and it's good that you brought that up because I can imagine where I grew up in Benin, in Nigeria. If I send my 15-year-old son back there without putting proper structures in place, it will sooner or later fall into what I was running away from. That's fact. Like you said, it will sooner or later find out. I had a friend who came from Chicago to see me years ago, and he stayed somewhere in Essex. So I came back from work and it took me a couple of hours to search for his address. When I got to Essex, I finally got to him. Guess what? He was blazing weed. And I'm like, you're from Chicago, man. How do you, where did you get your weed? He said, it's easy. That's the first thing I started looking for. So you're right.
Every country,
if he was feeling gang related issue, it would be easier for him to detect that.
100%.
I guess that's why the boarding school was very, very important.
That was a good
to
move.
What it did, yeah.
And I'm not saying, disclaimer, that I know much about the boarding school systems. I know of a few people that's gone boarding school that had their own traumas, because it's a different world in there.
Oh no, of course. It comes with its own trouble. I don't think I will give up my secondary school for a boarding school.
Okay.
But I think that structure of, say, I think for the mom and the dad,
you're not on the streets.
Just to say, I think it has both parents.
Okay.
Not on the street, that's it. I think that's the main concern for them would have been safety within those four walls. They're not outside, they're in there. If it's happening, there will be adult teachers who will keep an eye on them. Unlike where they'll go to school on the buses, come back on the buses and divert to somewhere. Yes, a bit
in
of
hope that the teachers are not misusing their power, and I think you know what I mean, and that their children are safe. That was a very good strategic move.
I think the judge, if I just look at the if I read this out from it said the judge, Mr. Justice Hayden, said the parents' actions were born of desperation and fear.
Yeah. Coming from the right place. It was it wasn't like, I'm sick of my child, I don't want responsibility. It was more like, listen, it's like a life or death now for my young person. And I actually salute and commend in one way, but because it's from that background of African anyway, it's not surprising. This is not new to us.
And the court was also previously told that the boy's parents, who are originally from Ghana, did not want their son to be yet, in quote, another black teenager. So Mr. Justice Hayden said that the boy's extended family in Ghana have gone to great lengths to claim him as their own and to help him to settle in whatever way they can. He concluded what S requires, I think S is the boy or the child, at present is the support and love of his family whilst he navigates the challenges of adolescence. That would be the challenges we were just talking about, like he will sooner or later find those things. So
maybe not. But I think the only small part of reflectivity that comes to mind to me is the difference between a young person who knows they're going back home and those who's been tricked. I just have a minute reflective concern of how that, in terms of trauma at all. I mean, one may say which one's worse, on the street trauma or that. But I think for those which happen, many Caribbean, African, again, Indian, whatever, we've had your passport confiscated once you've got. I feel that's a different feeling of abandonment.
No, that's how he felt. Which is valid. Right. I don't think the judge neglected that fact. I think the judge took that on board. But I'm thinking they're looking at the benefits far outweighs. The benefit of what the parents did far outweighs whatever.
If he was out of control, if he was spinning out of control, then guess what? Parents, well done.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what the judge was looking at. Because he was saying
it's either them or the police.
Exactly.
Or the burial ground.
Knocking on your door and
or the burial ground.
Knocking on your door and say, "Are you the parents of S?" Yeah. What's happened? Oh, S is.
And for those of us who have children, teenage children, or even past teenage. And have lived and has reviewed, I say no more. You just have to do what you got to do. No one wants that knock at the door.
No, of course. So, I in my area recently, and it's just happened recently, there's a child upstairs who's a white kid. Okay. But he's been hanging around with a lot of children from his old school. They're all in uniform. I think they probably be year 11, very tall. Until you get close to these kids, you don't know they're giants. They're bigger than you.
Giants.
I'm thinking, but they're all bigger than me. So recently I've been hearing from the neighbors that they've been misbehaving. They smoke weed. There are a lot of excessive weed. There's spit everywhere. So I met a couple of them recently because they were playing some beats and they were rapping to it. And it was this the drill music. So I went to them. One of them was very accommodating and said, look, is that your music? And he said, yes. I'm like, I like what I'm hearing, but please don't be cussing other people. Whatever ops you've got, use them as an opportunity. Don't use them as opposition. I don't want to hear any stories that one of you got shanked or stabbed or whatever. Use your music to become the next good thing. You can. I said, I'm a poet. If you want lyrics, I'll give you. But they have to be positive. And he was like, thank you, uncle. And the other one was like, was very... So these kids, they're bigger than my kid. They're probably 16, 17. My kid is 50 and it's very tiny. And since then, I've been saying to him, when you're getting close to the yard, make sure you call me so I'll come out, or call your mom to come out, because I don't want them to take a chance and call you and start roughing you.
Right.
We do all of these things because it's the way the system has become.
Yeah,
So going back to these parents, I commend their effort for taking that decision, because that boy, I believe, in the future will come back and thank them.
Do you think that your perspective also comes from the fact that this is a renownedly known practice from that Africans do? So it's not like new to you, where you have much to ponder, in a sense. I think had you said the opposite as an African man, that would have been more controversial to me.
Oh, with the taking the children back home?
Yes, do you see my point?
I don't support that.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
You
you'll be surprised. Yeah.
Surprise me.
I don't think I could ever take my children, anyone, and say, go be somewhere while I'm somewhere else.
Okay, my bad.
I'll take them with me.
Right.
But
okay.
I have always, like you, have to know the details of what
before you have a sound.
Before I have a say on it. And when I've heard people say why they did what they did, I've also, oh yeah, you did the right thing at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's for the good intention of its safety concerns.
100%.
Oh yeah, but I would not do it personally. I don't think I could send my son elsewhere and say it's difficult. I don't think I could do that. Even sleepovers are very difficult for me.
Well, this day and age.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thing. I'm different. I kind of like that. But in the statement, the parents said, this has been a really difficult time for us all. We're grateful to the court for taking the time to consider the case carefully and for reaching the decision it did. And I think that's what we were touching on the last time we addressed this, me and Nana, when Nana was sat here, was the pressure and all of that I was going through their mind, and whether they would lose the case and all of that. And I think
pressure on the parents?
Yeah, the parents. And this, I think, set some sort of precedent, because all of the parents will be like, okay, we're kind of relieved that, you know, I'm not saying people should use this, but again, the country where we are right now, UK, this is how we formulate our laws. It's not set in stone. We don't have written constitutional laws. So things happen, you use that as a case study. So in social services now, this has become a case law for us to use. In the case versus this. Court ruled, yes, you must move in by deception.
Wow.
I'm joking, not by deception, but at the end of the day, I think I'm proud of the judge as well as the parents.
Oh, I'm stunned. I asked you whether the judge was Caucasian or not, because I just couldn't fathom that a judge that wasn't for a man of color that would do that from a non-background.
I think it's so reason.
I'm
stunned. It's through the case, and probably a parent as well, because we're all humans and we have our own biases. Probably was influenced, but I think he understood that the parents were really and genuinely concerned. And at the time we discussed this, we also praised the effort of the child for taking his parents to court. Not that I accepted it. I said I would have flicked his head, mate, if he was my child. But hey,
you know me.
But hey, for him to have thought about that, it showed that the parents actually taught him well to be assertive and stand up for himself.
100%.
He was only standing against the parents.
Was he 15? Did we say
13?
13.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess everything worked well. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It worked very well for him. He will get to see this in the future, that mom. And I hope none of his friends, those people he was friends with, I hope none of them lose their life. Because sometimes it takes that for him to realize, oh my God, that would have been me. So I hope none of them lose their life and they still keep in touch, and he realizes in the future that mom and dad really did the best for me. Look at me now. Simon Webb, is this Simon Webb that was part of the Blue, the boy band?
Yes.
He said this happened to him. He was taken to the Caribbean for a while to go be with aunties and all.
Really?
And he spoke about how he fetched water on his head from miles. And he said all of that really straightened him, because he too was getting astray in the UK. And it turned out good. So that is a reference I will always use.
Oh, that's good. Wonderful.
Because we always pick out the positive. But you're absolutely right to have said there are some that went bad and there's trauma, but that's true. But we're dealing with this one in front of us, and I think I'm happy with the judgment. In that case, any last words?
No, I would say parents continue to tap into what you think is the right decision. And sometimes it means going completely off, away from the grain and being judged.
That's
but
it.
In the long run, it is us that has to pick up the pieces. So you do what you think is best.
Absolutely. I've got nothing to add to that. Because at the end of the day, we pick up the pieces if they all fall apart.
Yeah.
On that note, we'll see you again next time.